Hey guys, welcome back to Smith Party of Six. I'm Audriana Smith, and today I'm actually going to be reviewing something that was sent to us. So I've had a couple of these offers before, but not with things that actually seemed to make sense and to fit. But the people of makeblock recently reached out to me and asked if I would review one of their products. If you haven't heard of makeblock before, they are a company that seeks to make STEM more accessible for children and to get kids really excited about things like robotics and coding. And that is 100% up my son Elijah's alley. He loves things like that. He was actually telling me over the summer that he really wanted to focus more on things like robotics and coding and different like technological things over handicrafts, which I still want him to learn some handicrafts, so he is doing that. However, I did tell him that in place of handicrafts, sometimes he could do robotics and coding stuff. So this came literally at the perfect time, and I decided, why not? We'll go ahead and give it a shot. And so that's what we're doing today. We are actually going to talk about this little guy right here. It's called MBot Neo. And we are gonna be going back to our curriculum picks videos, but this is kind of like a little interruption to that to focus on this today. So on makeblock's website, you will actually find lots of different STEM related projects, including several different robots. They have stuff for all different ages, starting at preschool and going up from there. So really, if your child is of school age, then they could benefit from something like this, especially if that's something that you're interested in. A quick note on that, we are very much the type of family who is into back to basics, kind of like the movement toward the family coming back together. Actually, we recently did a video on this with some of our friends over on our group channel if you want to go check it out. So even though we're really into the whole back to basics thing of like homeschooling, working towards homesteading, all that kind of stuff, I still realize that we live in a world that is very much into technology and that a lot of things in this world revolve around technology. And while I don't want us as a family to be reliant upon those things or obsessed with those things, I also think that it's good for my children to gain those skills if it's something that they're inclined towards. So since it's something that Elijah really enjoys and he wants to learn it, my thought is maybe that's something that the Lord even has placed into him. Why not go ahead and allow him to learn these skills and be part of raising up a next generation who knows how to use technology but wants to use it for the glory of God instead of the way that man has used it more recently. So we've actually been really excited for him to be able to do this, pursue learning how to code, and gain that skill. We've had MBot Neo for about a month now. I just wanted kind of time to be able to really watch him interact and kind of see how easy it actually is to learn coding through makeblock's products. So in this review, I will go ahead and talk about the product itself. So kind of how I feel about the make of MBot Neo. Then I'll go into talking about kind of the process, how it was to build it, how it is to code, all that sort of thing. We will talk about the ease of use and get some of my son's quick little thoughts. He didn't want to talk too much on camera, but he did share just a little bit. And then finally, I'll just go over some pros and cons, some things that I really like about it, and some of the drawbacks that I see possibly with it as well. My goal is kind of just like to give you a really well-rounded review to see if this is something that you actually want for your home, if it's something that would make sense for your family. Before we get into it, I will let you know that if you use the code SmithPartyOf6 at checkout, you will get $10 off of your order. Okay, so first up with the product itself. Like I showed you before, it will come in a nice little box like this. It's actually really good packaging. I know that that's such a random thing to like be happy about, but it was really nice packaging. And really everything that you will need for this project is inside of here. It has one of the little like magnet flaps that keep it shut. And when you open it up, you will find everything that you need on the inside. The robot is not assembled at that time. And putting it together is actually part of the project, and then you code it afterwards. This little guy right here is what you get. He is super cute. Let me actually turn him on really quick for you. Okay, so that's part of what my son has coded him to do so far, is that when you turn him on, he says hi and does the little humming thing, and his backlights all light up in like a rainbow pattern right there. you can actually see right through the top plate here, underneath the hood there with what's going on, which I think is really fun for kids who love this sort of thing. So the construction itself is very durable. This thing is heavy. It's got weight when you hold it. This isn't like one of those little flimsy projects. We have gotten so many different STEM projects before that have been absolute crud and fall apart really easy. We actually have one that was an engine that he was like learning how to build, just like a basic engine. And as he was putting it together, the thing was so flimsy that one of the pieces broke. And you can't actually order like the little bags of parts for that specific engine that he was building separately. So we would have to buy a complete extra set just for him to ever finish that. So it's like not gonna happen, which then is frustrating for him because he didn't actually get to finish the project. So I don't see that being a problem with the stuff from makeblock. At least with MBot Neo, it is very heavy duty, which is really nice because if you are forking out cash for something, you want it to actually stay together. That's kind of an important thing. As far as the actual process goes, like I mentioned, first you build the robot and then you code it. The building part itself took him maybe half an hour, and the instructions for that are inside of the box. At the end of those instructions, it gives a little note about where to go on the website so that you can learn how to code it, kind of get everything on there set up for the coding process. My dear son, and honestly, this is kind of my fault as a mom, when he gets into a project like this and he's confident, like I can do this, I've got it on my own, then I give him space and I let him go ahead and just do it on his own and figure it out. I should have paid closer attention though when he got to the end of building, because that's where that little note is. And he kind of had no idea what to do after that. We were kind of flying blind. He was trying to figure things out, and like he got like the apps that he needed and that sort of thing, but he didn't really know what to do after that. And was kind of trying to figure out the coding process, and he was putting stuff in on the coding editor and nothing was happening and he didn't understand why. So then I looked back at the end of the instructions and figured out that there were other steps that we needed to do first to kind of get everything set up so that it was fully ready and that the robot was connected and all that kind of stuff. So if you get this for your children, know that there is a little note at the end of the instructions that will tell you exactly what to do. There's all sorts of extra instructions on the actual website itself. And once I had those pulled up, it was super easy for him even to follow those on his own. It was just a matter of actually getting those. So read all of the instructions and you will be fine. You'll be golden. So makeblock teaches coding by starting off with like a drag and drop block editor. So for example, there might be like a trigger when you hit button A and then you have to connect the next block that you want to happen after that. MBot Neo will say hello or something like that. So it kind of starts giving them the basic idea of what they're doing when they're coding. So that's all that Elijah has been focusing on so far, is just the block editor. But actually on the same software, on the same program, it will eventually transition him to Python programming. So through this, he will actually be learning a legitimate coding language. There are a couple of apps that you will need to be able to do it, which they show you exactly the ones that you need on the end of those instructions. And you can either do it on a cell phone, a tablet, or even on the computer. Any of those is fine. Most of the time, Elijah has been working on my cell phone so far. That's just been the easiest thing. But I also have it to where he can do it off of the laptop that we have in our schoolroom as well. So it makes it kind of easy, a little flexible, that you have kind of different things that you can use in order to learn how to code. Now, in addition to the actual coding software that they use on there are also games that you can play with MBot Neo that he comes with. You can even just drive him just like you would any other remote controlled car. So there are different ways to play with it. It doesn't just have to be about the coding, but it is the main focus on there. If you've been around here for very long, you know that I'm really big into learning through play. And I know that, of course, that's not always an option. We can't always learn through play. But when we can, with new things that we're being introduced to, it kind of keeps that interest and that curiosity alive. So I like that about MBot Neo. Another thing that it comes with, there's like a tracking mat that you can code MBot Neo to follow the line on the mat itself. That's something that Elijah is still working on right now, so I don't have any footage of MBot Neo doing that. Now, there are other versions of MBot Neo also on the website. So there is one that is a 4-in-1. So you can do different modifications on it, 4 different possible ways to set up MBot Neo. So you might want to check that out. And of course, it's not the only robot that they have on their website for coding. There's one that's kind of like one step younger, called Cody Rocky. You don't assemble that one, but for that one, you still learn the beginnings of coding and stuff like that. The step up is like Megabot, and then there's another step up after that that's like an ultimate kit that you could build like 10 different types of robots from. That is the one that is Elijah's next goal. He's actually already saving up his money for it. He's really excited. He wants to buy that one in the future. So there is a whole range of these products that help with kind of this engineering and coding type of mindset, which is super fun. As far as ease of use, like I said, it was easy for him to build, took about 30 minutes. Once you follow the instructions, it is very, very simple. And the coding itself starts out very simple. I don't know what it's like once it starts to transition to the Python programming, because that's not somewhere that he's gotten with it yet, but I am kind of interested to see how that works. Right now, it's just been focused on block coding, and he's doing really well with that so far though, which that was something that was really important for me because I am not someone who knows anything about coding. We would all do like basic coding back on MySpace whenever that was still a thing, but it wasn't anything like what he's learning now. So I'm very interested to see kind of where this develops and how it goes. I needed for any type of coding software that we would use for it to be very hands-off for me, since I don't know what I'm doing and I can't necessarily help him a whole lot in that. I can kind of teach myself basics as I'm watching him and as I'm reading through instructions and things like that, but to actually be able to sit down and teach it to him, that's not something that I can do. So this has been really nice so far that I've literally done nothing for him to be able to understand this. And just through doing the block coding and kind of seeing the basics of how coding works, that kind of, I think, prepares his mind to be able to understand the Python programming later on. All right, Elijah, so I wanted to get your thoughts since you were the one who actually did this project. What did you think about MBot Neo?
I really liked building it and coding it, and I like stuff like this, so it was amazing. 10 stars.
So is there anything that you have learned during the course of it that you could tell other children to make it a little bit easier if they go to do this project?
Look at the instructions better.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No.
Okay, show us your robot there. There he is, MBot Neo. All right, thanks, Elijah. So now for the pros. I've already kind of mentioned most of these, but I wanted to go ahead and condense it in a way that makes sense and is kind of like all in one place for you to be able to come and look at it. So first of all, I love that it's building those skills that are important in the world right now. Really, I just want my kids to pick up any skills that interest them. So if it's something that they can actually be passionate about, then I want them to pursue those skills, because it might be that that's the very thing that they're going to use in their life to glorify God. Second, like I mentioned, the product itself is super durable. The parts, that metal on there is thick, none of that is going anywhere. It's not gonna break, it's not gonna fall apart. Third, it's super simple to get started because it is that block coding, and eventually it's going to transition to the Python, but it starts out super simple, just baby steps to make it easy for anybody who's a beginner. Fourth, I love that learning to code through play element. I just think that it kind of helps our brains to enjoy the learning process a little bit more when it's done through play, especially for children. Fifth, I love that it's hands-off for me, because like I said, I'm not a programmer. I don't know how to do it. And sixth, of course, the instructions are super easy to follow if you actually pay attention to the instructions. So lastly, we're gonna talk about some cons, some drawbacks here. If you are a parent who is not into screen time, honestly, we're not super into screen time. It's not something that we give them a lot of. There are some days when I don't give them any screen time whatsoever. Other days it's like, sure, you can go ahead and play a video game for an hour, or let's all pile up and watch a family movie. Like, that's a little bit different, but I'm not one who loves to give a lot of screen time. So that was kind of a drawback when thinking about this, because obviously he has to have screen time in order to code, because that is how he accesses the coding software. There is one of their products, it's a robot for preschoolers that actually doesn't use any screens. So it has like these little cards that you put together that's kind of like the blocks for the block coding, and then there's like a pen reader, kind of like, think those Leapfrog pen readers. So when they go across it with the pen, then it reads the code. So that is an option for younger kids. If your kid is older than a preschooler though, they're not necessarily going to love that version of the robot. And so obviously screen time would be a must in that case. So first of all, I have had Elijah thus far work within the limits of his screen time on this. But if there was a day when he happened to already use screen time and wanted to code, I would probably still go ahead and let him, just because of that skill building aspect. It's not like he's just sitting and doing some mind-numbing activity or just watching funny videos type of thing. It's actually for something, and so I tend to think about that a little bit differently than I do normal, just run-of-the-mill screen time. But obviously that can still be a drawback no matter what for some families, so I just wanted to throw that out there. The other main drawback really that there's only one other one, and that is that these are not super cheap. They are kind of on the pricier side. Now I will say that if you go and look for different coding robots, there's gonna be ones that are much more expensive than the ones on makeblock's site. But in general, like, we're a family who tries to stick to a basic budget. We don't usually buy lots of frivolous things if we can help it. So something like this for us, I would kind of come at it from multiple different angles. First of all, we might use something like this as like a Christmas present, because we tend to get them each something kind of larger, not necessarily in size, but a present with greater value. Each of them has at least one of those. So this is something that would be like a possibility for something like that. Another thing, I think that it's really good to teach kids to work for things. Like I said, Elijah is saving up for the ultimate set that he really wants eventually. And I like that. I like him working toward something and just kind of getting like that goal setting type of mentality, and the mentality that things aren't just handed to you, but sometimes you have to work for them. So you can keep that in mind also. If your child is really interested in something like this, they really want it, you can have them kind of work for it. And that can also help you kind of save little by little. You know, they're working really hard doing maybe some extra chores around the house, not just their typical family stuff, but they pitch in a little bit extra, and so you give them a little bit of cash every time that they do that, and it's sort of like saving a little bit away every time towards this purchase. But there are all sorts of little things like that that you can do, putting it within your homeschool budget for the year. I'm not sure how your budget is set up, but those are just some different ideas if it's something that you think is valuable, because I will say that this isn't the same type of robot that you would find just like in a department store or something, like last minute shopping on Christmas. Those things fall apart so easily. So overall, we really like this, and I do recommend makeblock. I had never heard of them before, but I'm really glad that they reached out. Don't forget, if you do decide to order one of these, I do have a discount code, SmithPartyOf6, and my link is down in the description box. I also think that there is a back to school sale going on right now. Don't quote me on that, but last time that I was on their website, there was one on there. So you might want to check that out. All right, but that is all that I have for you guys today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe down below for homeschool content, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.